Well, welcome back to the Referral Lounge. I'm Nick. This is Bailey. As always, we're always here talking about referrals and networking and pitches. And yeah, we're just here with Pitch 59. We have a guest today, Cam Jacobson. Welcome to the podcast.
Thank you for having me.
Of course. Yeah, no, we honestly, that's one of the biggest things for us right now is that we just want to get a lot of the affiliates that we're working with that are just doing a killer job of just getting us out there. Like, we want to make sure that you're on the podcast. We want to give you a little bit more visibility, of course, but at the same time, like, we just want people to be able to understand some of your methods, see some of your background, understand where you're coming from and your perspective on it.
Yeah. Okay.
And really just make sure that we can get that out there. Like, let other people kind of get some ideas based off of what you've done. And I think that's one of the biggest things is that we're new, right? It's a new concept. It's a new company. We want to see how we can really help people get it out there more effectively, more efficiently. So, just to start off, why don't you give us a quick background, history of Cam Jacobson? You know, where you're from, grew up, and then kind of getting into now with Nectar Benefits and health insurance. Kind of give us a quick background on that, and then we'll just dive right in.
Sweet. Sounds good. So, my name's Cam Jacobson. I grew up in New York State, in the western part of the state by Rochester and Palmyra in that area.
Really?
Yeah, in the Finger Lakes. Yeah, the Finger Lakes region. So
that's cool.
Yeah, a little city called Canandaigua, which is in...
Say it one more time.
It's Canandaigua.
Canandaigua.
Canandaigua. Canandaigua.
It sounds like you spelled that before for people.
Once or twice, yes. So that's an Iroquois name.
Okay, I was going to ask.
Which is the Native Americans in that region.
Uh-huh.
And depending on who you ask, it either means the chosen spot,
okay,
or it might mean the place where we decided to stop.
I like the first option.
It's not as flattering to be like, we just stopped here, you know?
All right, well, this is
good
this
enough.
is the stopping place.
Yeah, it's the chosen place, the chosen spot sounds really nice. And be like, we happen to be here.
It rings,
nice.
It feels a little bit better coming off the tongue. So,
yeah, for sure. So I grew up in Western New York. I've been in and out of Utah. Excuse me. I've been in and out of Utah for the past 10, 15 years at this point.
Oh, yeah.
I still consider myself a New Yorker, even though I think I've probably been in Utah for longer than.
Oh, yeah. You claim New York still?
Yeah. It's more interesting to be from not the place where you are at any given time, right? If I was in New York, I'd probably claim Utah because then it'd be more interesting.
That's
right. So people are like, oh, that's so exotic.
They're like, where are you from? Not Canandaigua.
Yeah, Canandaigua, the place where we decided to be. So I came out to Utah. I went to BYU for a couple years. I did a church mission in San Antonio, Texas for 2 years.
Nice.
I did some door-to-door, some sales, and worked kind of all over the country. And
what kind of sales did you do?
So I did security systems for 2 years.
Okay.
With a company called Pinnacle that eventually got bought out by somebody else, I think ADT or something. And then I did pest control for 2 years with a company called Edge Pest Control.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
And they're pretty big, and they recently rebranded to, I believe it's pronounced Sayla. It's got one of those like AE backwards swooshy letters in the middle.
Oh,
sure.
Okay.
So I don't really know how to pronounce it, but shout out to those guys.
I think if you said it like
however you
that,
say it,
exactly like that, I think they'll understand.
Yeah. So I'm sure their people know how to say it better than that and all that. So anyways, I did door-to-door for those years. Got some sales experience, got to work with people.
Yeah.
Ended up working with Edge Pest Control on their corporate side for another 4 or 5 years, did a bunch of different things.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I worked kind of project management with their software company they had internally that built their own pest control software.
Very
and then I did some like business analytics for them as well and some kind of project management stuff. And since then, for the past 6, 7 years at this point, I've been solo owning businesses and doing a lot of work in the insurance field.
Okay.
Owning a few different companies and trying some different things. And so I've had my life and my health insurance licenses for about, 7 years now. And what I really settled into the last couple years here with Nectar Benefits is this company that I created where we're really focusing on small businesses, small business owners.
Yeah.
There's a lot of pain right now that these small businesses are going through, especially coming out of COVID and a couple years ago. And we're sliding headfirst into a recession now. Businesses are struggling to get people to show up for work, get people who want to apply and want to work there and be satisfied, trying to avoid employee turnover. And part of that is the fact that most of the health insurance options for these small businesses are really expensive. and honestly not great for the employees,
Mm.
especially in the smaller range, the 10, 20, 30 employees.
Mm-hmm.
Those businesses are really struggling right now. So I found out that the type of health insurance that I was able to offer really happens to be a great fit for a lot of these small businesses where we can solve a lot of problems for them, save them a ton of money, save their employees a ton of money, get everybody better benefits. And because of the skill set I have with working with people and building relationships, I just kind of fell into that and really decided to embrace that. So it's been going really well so far. Really excited with the results that we've had, the things we've been able to take care of for our clients. And interestingly enough, I've actually got more clients outside of Utah than inside Utah at this point. So
Oh wow.
we're in 35 different
Yeah,
states.
I remember seeing the
and-
map where you're just like, I've got all these different states that I work with clients in, and
Yeah.
yeah, I didn't realize that more outside of Utah.
Yeah,
That's
so
awesome. Good for you.
we're all
That's
thank
awesome.
you. We're all over the country, and it is state by state, right? Because
Sure.
every state has their own like insurance board and politics and blah blah blah.
Of
So
course.
there's
Right.
some states that are really really difficult to work with when it comes to insurance.
Mhm.
States like New York, where I'm from, and I
Right.
have a bunch of potential clients. Like can't touch that. The whole state is like its own little country. Same thing with California. Really hard to work with in a lot of
Doesn't
cases for
surprise
this
me
stuff.
either.
But for the majority, 30, 35 states, we've got access to these really incredible health insurance options. And, what I do is mainly, I see myself more as a relationship builder and a connector and a people person. And health insurance happens to be what I do, and that saves people money and it helps to build their business. But I don't necessarily view myself as like a health insurance person at my core, right?
Yeah.
What I really love about it is getting to meet and work with small business owners, people who have similar goals and dreams that I do, and be able to connect them not only with the products and services I can do, but with my other clients and my strategic partners and this network that I've been building that is very, very valuable in putting people
Right.
together and opening the opportunities for them they might not have had on their own. That's really exciting for me.
Yeah. So I guess to kind of build off of that, like what do you feel like was the main motivating factor to get you into health insurance, and what's like kept you going? Like what is it that you decided to create your own company,
Mhm.
one, but then also just to like really kind of motivate you around that process of I want to stick with this. Like I feel like this is what I'm supposed to be doing right now.
Yeah. So, like I mentioned, I have my licenses for life insurance and for health insurance, and I've kind of dabbled in both of those arenas. I also did Medicare for a couple years and worked with
Oh, really?
seniors doing Medicare stuff. Yeah.
Sure. Yeah.
But as I started building these relationships, I was seeing more and more of this pain that was happening, where these small businesses really want to be able to say like, hey, I've got this core team of people that I built this business with. I want to
Mhm.
keep them around. I don't want to lose them, but getting them health insurance is too expensive. We literally can't afford to give them health insurance. We know that they want it, right?
Mm.
I've gone through additional licensing and certifications to be able to offer more and better health insurance options than the regular agent or even like a brokerage can do.
Yeah.
And so I have this access and they had this need, and it was like, wait a second, I can start, pairing these things together. And as I was starting to work with these business owners, that's when it started to kind of the light bulb came on. It was like, well, I can build an entire business just out of that side of it, of
Right.
helping the small business owners. And it's really rewarding because not only are we helping them to, save their money and improve the satisfaction with their employees, but like I mentioned, the other part that's really exciting for me is getting to plug them into my ecosystem and my network of professional relationships where I can then help them build and grow their business faster
Yeah,
than they would.
More
without.
benefit for them.
Yeah. So my network
Sure.
becomes their network.
Yeah.
Right. So the first piece of the
Yeah, I
puzzle
love
is,
that.
hey, let's take care of the health insurance. Let's make sure you're keeping your core people happy, keep them around,
Right.
increase your ability to competitively hire people and get them to be, attracted, and remove the turnover and all the churn and all that. And now we've saved you this money. We've got your core people. How can we scale your business? Let's figure out who we can get you in touch with, what services and options and opportunities that we can put you in front of so your business grows faster now. That's super exciting for me to be able to say like, hey, yeah, I did the health insurance part of it, but I also opened up X, Y, and Z opportunity. And now their business is growing way faster than it would have without just this health insurance thing.
That's
Yeah,
interesting.
Very cool.
Yeah, that's super cool. And so I know you kept saying like you built relationships, and how did you start that relationship building process with health insurance, and then now with like helping businesses scale their business as well and stuff like that? Because I know you kind of talked about that, but I wonder if we can dive a little bit deeper into that.
Sure, yeah. So I put I put a lot of effort into putting myself into places and opportunities to meet people,
Right.
to meet people that I think I can provide value to, who might have value to offer me. So that means, networking events, business conferences. I end up sponsoring a lot of stuff and organizing stuff. I get asked to speak at events, things like that. A lot of those places you is one of the best ways to meet a lot of, small business owners or people who know small business owners, quickly build that relationship and say, hey, what I do might be valuable for you. I don't know yet. But what
Mhm.
matters right now is that we like spending time with each other. We build that relationship first.
Right.
I'm not going to try and push and sell anything right now. I'm not going to try and get into deductibles and premiums and compare this versus this. Like,
Right.
that's way down the road. But we're at the same place at the same time, having the same experience. We have that shared connection. Let's see if we can build a relationship. Maybe let's go do lunch next week. Maybe let's hop on a Zoom
Right.
call. Start to build that, person to person connection, and really try to seek to understand what they do, what they need, what their goals are. I might be a good fit. I might not.
Mhm.
I do free consulting all the time with people, and
They might live in California.
they might be in California. Yeah.
Right.
So I do this consulting all the time with people, and it turns out that their specific goals for their company is something that I wouldn't be the best fit for. I could make money by doing that, but it's, I think, better for the relationship and for the reputation to be able to say, like, hey, what you're really looking for is this tweaked thing over here.
Mhm.
Let me put you in touch with that person
Right.
and give them that relationship. But none of that happens until, you meet and have this opportunity. So I have found personally that person to person contact is the best. There's a lot of, Zoom networking sort of stuff, online video. I haven't found that to be as solid in a lot of
Mhm.
cases.
Sure. Yeah.
Sometimes, and this might sound weird, sometimes the cream will kind of rise to the top in some of those like Zoom ones, where the people who are actually engaged and interested and willing to participate
Oh yeah.
will be a little bit more obvious than the people who are like super checked out and like
Right.
playing Minecraft at the same time or
Right,
whatever, right? So, it's not a horrible thing by any means, but I have really proactively tried to get myself into situations and create and build situations to get groups of people together, to get new people meeting, have some fun, get some food, play some games, whatever it happens to be.
Right.
Um,
To get people there. kind
yeah.
of, yeah.
Once they're there, then you can start that spark in that relationship. And not everyone's going to click, and that's totally fine.
Right.
But you don't even know if you didn't have the chance in the first place.
Right.
Right.
Makes sense.
So going out of my way to try and say, like, let me meet as many people as I can. Some of those people can help me. Some of those people I can help. But more importantly, it's not just those direct people there. It's those people know people who I can help.
Yeah.
Right.
They have their own network of 100 people or 1,000 people or whatever it happens to be. And if they like me and if they trust me, I might end up being part of their network and being able to help out their people. So it's, I've found that to be a really great use of my time in most cases, to try and start those relationships there. And then for me, one of the big parts is after an event like that, after you really meet them,
Mhm.
is making sure you follow up. So many people are like, hey, we should work together. We should do a project together. Wouldn't that be cool? And then just crickets, just nothing, right?
Right.
Mm.
If you aren't following up and spending time to actually say, like, hey, remember we met here? Let's talk. Let's do this thing. How can I help you? If you aren't following up, then it is kind of a waste of time.
Right.
So just
It's true.
just getting there and being there is a huge part of it, but it's not the only part.
Yeah.
And there are some people who I see kind of like running the circuit of events, and they just happen to be at all the events, but they aren't engaging with people.
Mhm.
They aren't setting appointments with them. They aren't following up. And it's like, that's, I don't think, a great use of somebody's time, But if you're going to really try and build that relationship, following up, then all of a sudden it turns into something a lot more. It's pretty powerful.
Right.
Very cool.
Right.
Yeah, I like that response a lot because I think people undervalue the power that follow up has. If you really dive in deep, follow up is one of the big. I literally just got off a call just before this of somebody was just like, I just appreciate you for following up, and I was like, well, I just feel like that's just what I'm doing. But at the same time, like people just don't do it. Like it's crazy. Like how many people don't really take the time to like go back into their contacts or go back after an event and see, oh, these are the people that I met. These are the people that I talked to. I want to make sure that I contact at least most of them,
Mhm.
the ones where I really see a value, if not all of them, honestly, because you really want to make sure that you're not leaving anything on the table. Because if you had great conversations, why wouldn't you follow up with those people?
Right.
So yeah, 100%. I completely agree with that. How would you say, because like you've talked about like building out these relationships and then eventually hopefully getting into the space of, maybe these people have other people, other clients that they work with, or other people in their network, other contacts that but could potentially work with you.
Mhm.
And so how is that when you've gone into networking, how have you been able to translate those into not only following up, but then eventually leading into referrals, introductions, making sure that you're kind of getting into not only, hey, I want to make sure that I'm of value to you, but I also want to make sure that you know that I'm of value to the rest of your network as well.
Yeah, that's a good question. For me, I'm sorry. For me, one of the things that I try and do is as soon as I have a good understanding of what somebody does, which I think is the first part.
Yeah.
Right.
Like, what do you
Right.
do? What do
Seek
you
to
need?
understand,
Yeah.
and then seek to be understood, right?
After. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Correct.
Mhm.
So it's like, okay, what do you do? What do you need? What are the pain points in your business right now? And then my first thing I try and do is say, okay, I can introduce you to X, Y, and Z person who can start filling those needs for you.
Oh, so you
I-
make those referrals first.
Yeah, I
okay, yeah,
try when I can, and I
Of course,
it's not always, but
it's
when
not
I
always,
can,
but yeah,
I try, whether that's through on LinkedIn or at an event or at a lunch or whatever. Once I really understand what they're doing, it's like, okay, I'd love to get you in touch with this person and this person and this person. I think those could be really valuable connections. They might open up some opportunities for you.
yeah.
So I try and offer that out, right away and say, here's the relationship I want to have. Is it's one of putting people together. And I try and do that first. Be proactive and say, here's some value. Like, you didn't know me a while ago and now you do. And because you do, here's all these valuable connections for you. And I
Right.
try and provide that instantly. And again, you can't always make that happen right away every single time. But
Sure.
when I've done that and when I've been able to successfully do that, the likelihood of them coming back to me and saying, hey, I thought of somebody who needs your help, or I have this other business that I'm looking at doing, or whatever, that goes way up. So
Right.
not that that's the only reason to build these connections in the first place, but if you're trying to turn these connections into, partnerships, or maybe they do become a client directly or whatever, I find that providing value first is the best way to do that.
Yeah.
Figure out
It's a
what they're
great
doing,
perspective to have.
figure out what value they're looking for, put somebody in their place that can do that. And as I continue doing it, I now have more and more of a network and more people that I can use as these resources, right?
Right.
Almost like these
Yeah.
connections are a currency, and I can just be like, here
Right.
you go. Here's free
And you're just
stuff.
trading back
Yeah.
and forth. You're trying to, like, it's literally the true meaning of a network where you're literally just trying to build it out so you can trade back and forth and go back and
Yeah.
forth between all these people.
It reminds
That's
me of
really
like Uno, like the Uno reverse card. Like, here you go. It's like,
Back
they're
to you.
You're like, oh, back to you.
you know?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's kind of reminds me of, and I mean, that's so important. I think that's kind of like, I was studying psychology in college class last semester, and that was something that we kind of like learned and like touched on, was like, when we help somebody else, not only does it make us feel good about ourselves, but it's like almost that like little selfish thing. Like, not necessarily where we perceive it as selfish, but like because it makes us feel good, like it is inherently a little bit selfish. And I think that's kind of interesting because like in business, I think we think that we need to be a little bit more selfish than we are. When we're supplying people with referrals, when we're supplying people with these things, it's selfless but also selfish at the same time. Does that
Yeah.
kinda
Yeah,
make
you're looking
sense?
after the benefit of
Of-
whoever you're
yeah.
helping out.
But also then you have those people that you can.
That dopamine hit. You're just
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
Yeah, you're like, yeah, I helped you. Okay, now what can you help me with? You know?
And I
Yeah.
think something you touched on is really important. There are a lot of people who say like, oh, I do a ton of networking and blah, blah, blah.
Mm-hmm.
But their approach to it is very transactional.
Right.
Mm.
I will give you a referral after you give me a referral. Like,
Right.
Or vice versa. Like, it's the expectation, like, if I give you something,
Then
you'll
you
give me
owe
something
me.
back.
Yeah.
Yeah.
and I do my best to get any thought near that just out of my head entirely
Right.
and just provide value.
Right.
Right.
And say like, what do you need? Cool. I'm not the one to do that, but I have all these people who can. Here you
Right.
go. Great. You two go build an awesome future together. I hope you're happy. That's awesome.
And now you think very positively of me, you know, that person that
Yeah.
you're doing that with. Like, now you're building trust and goodwill and all those kinds of things with this potential person that maybe could need your business later on, just not right now.
Yeah. And ideally, in a perfect world, they remember that I introduced them to that person and that I
Right.
built all that value for them. Not necessarily, but maybe 6 months down the road, they hear of somebody who needs something that I can offer. You know, they know
Right.
that I do health insurance for small business. They know that I can help self-employed people, blah, blah, blah.
Sure.
Maybe their friend mentions it or something and they say, hey, there's this guy. I didn't work with him directly, but he introduced me to whatever. He might be a good opportunity for you to talk to. And that might come back to me. Right.
Right.
Yeah.
And what I have
Right.
found is that it often does,
Right.
but I'm not expecting that.
It's probably
Mhm.
even more likely to come back to you if you do something. Not that that should be the motivation, right? But it really does. Like if you can create that trust with people and say, you know, like I do genuinely want to create value for you. Like I'm not
Mhm.
here just to be able to get your business. Like I want to make sure that you're helped regardless of me helping you directly.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think having that perspective is really, really important because that way, when you're going into those conversations, like, right, you're having that perspective of, I want to make sure that the value that I'm providing is not just what I'm trying to get out of this conversation or this relationship. I want to make sure that they know that I can be valuable in a lot of different ways than just what my immediate service is, that I can be a resource for them if they need to come back and have more contacts or whatever it may be, that they know that I can provide value, not letting it go above and beyond and letting them take advantage of you necessarily, but really making sure that you could come, that they could come back to you as a source of this person knows people and they have a great network and they're
They're
just somebody that's
trustworthy.
reliable. Right. Exactly. I think that's
So-
a huge, huge part of it. And there
Yeah.
will be people that take advantage of it and you kind of have to watch out for those people. But at the same time, like that's really a much better perspective than instead of just being like, hey, let me just sell you this thing. Hey, did I tell you about this? Or like, hey,
Well, and
let me just make sure that you know about what I'm doing.
Mm-hmm.
and this is kind of getting a little bit off track, but I think that's I think a lot of people nowadays are aware of scammers. They're aware of people that just want to sell you things.
Yeah.
There's so many different products out there that are very
Scammers
similar.
and spammers.
Exactly.
Mm.
There's so many different
Nice.
products that are there that are so similar.
I just thought of that. Could you
I
tell?
think it's a
He's pretty
t-shirt.
proud of himself.
Yeah.
He's
That's a
little
good
pat on the
t-shirt.
back.
Scammers,
Scammers and
spammers.
spammers.
Yeah.
But
Say no to scammers and spammers.
But like I know like when I look into products or a specific thing that I'm looking for, there's so many different variations of that same thing that I'm looking for. And so I want to do business with someone that I can trust and that someone that is, has my back and that I can have their back as well. And so I think that's awesome that you're building your network on that way. And is there maybe a story that you have that when you were talking to someone and maybe initially told them that this wasn't the correct service or the great service, and then later they came back? Do you have any kind of story along those similar lines, or just a story that when you're networking that you found someone and it made an impact in you and your business?
Sure. Yeah. I've got a bunch.
Or even like a referral that like was sent to you that turned into something big and
Yeah.
or you gave a referral to somebody else and it turned into something big.
Okay.
Whatever story you want to share, we'll take it.
Just
Yeah.
any story.
We like stories.
Okay. So let me see how far back this one goes.
Pick your
'Cause there's like
favorite.
it's like a train of introductions.
Right.
I'm trying to think of where
Those
it
are the
started.
best.
Yeah.
Because you realize how much goes into it.
So
Mhm.
I was in touch with a real estate brokerage.
Give us
in,
a setting. Date and time. Just
Set the mood. No, I'm
the
just
20
kidding.
2023.
Do we
So,
need to dim the lights
yeah.
a little bit?
so there I was. 2023.
Gotta put some background music on
sometime
there?
earlier this year, maybe January, February, I don't remember. I was in touch with a real estate agent, and that real estate agent, I was able to take care of their health insurance because we do work with a lot of self-employed people, a lot of people
Yeah,
who
1099s.
are yeah, ton
Sure,
of
sure.
that. He got him set up, took care of him. He reached out about a month later and said, "Hey, my other friend is about to join over at this brokerage." No, sorry, there's a step in the middle. He referred me to his friend. No, hold on. I'm trying to trace this back. Okay, yeah. So there was a person at a brokerage where there were a bunch of a bunch of real estate agents that needed health insurance. And so I talked with the owner of that brokerage, and because of a situation that they were in, they wanted to go with something else, which was totally great. But somebody who was there ended up leaving and went to go work at a lumber yard in Winnemucca, Nevada, which is
Wow.
a fun city to
That
say.
is very random.
And so
I think it's more fun, no offense, than your home.
than Canandaigua, Winnemucca, Canandaigua.
Yeah.
Yeah, it depends.
It could go either way.
It's a toss up.
yeah,
yeah.
but do you know what Winnemucca means?
We'll flip a coin.
I don't.
No.
It doesn't
Oh.
mean the chosen spot. So,
I was
So-
like, tell me
Yeah,
more.
good.
so yeah, so real estate agent to a real estate brokerage to the guy who worked at a lumber yard in Winnemucca, Nevada. And then he was roommates with a guy at a different lumber yard. And then he introduced me to the owner of that lumber yard because they didn't have good health insurance.
They need to be like drawn like a map.
And then,
Yeah.
so I talked with that owner about their own health insurance for them specifically for their family. And what we had wasn't a great option for them. But she had a good experience and I introduced her to some people. Fast forward to about 3 weeks ago, I get a call from one of her friends who's another business owner in Winnemucca, Nevada, and said, hey, we're looking for health insurance. And my friend, blah, 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 over at this lumber yard said that, you might be able to help out. And we did. And so now all of a
Wow.
sudden, like there's this chain of like 7 or 8 referrals and introductions in a row. And some of those people I was able to help out and some of them I wasn't directly able to help out.
Yeah.
But now it's like, okay, now we're all the way over here across the country in this different place, helping this small business over here.
Right.
And none of those things would have happened if I didn't provide a good experience and build a relationship
In
with
the first
with the
place.
people in the first place. Yeah. So,
Which was like years ago too.
Well,
in this case, it was beginning
January.
of this year.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, I thought you said 2020.
I said 2023, which feels like
I
the
definitely
past,
thought you
but
said
it is the
2003. And I
Oh,
was
2003.
Like, whoa, that was forever
That's
ago.
crazy.
Yeah,
Yeah.
no, that would have been like freshman year in high school, so not quite that long
Yeah,
ago. Yeah,
makes sense. I
Um,
I wasn't thinking all the way, and so I was like, no way.
yeah, 20 years ago, and then
But-
Winnemucca.
But that makes sense. 2023. That makes a lot more sense.
So that's an example that comes to mind. But we currently, I'm not doing any advertising. I'm not doing any marketing. About 95% of all of our business comes from word of mouth and from referrals.
Yeah.
So it's meeting people, giving them a good
Well,
experience,
and like
providing
sponsoring
value.
events
Yeah.
where you're like in person, like talking to people. Like you have a chance to be able to get in front of people and really make sure that you're like, interacting with people.
Right.
So yeah.
So what I do within the health insurance realm is pretty unique. I'm in a population of less than 1% of health insurance agents who have access to do what I do
Mhm.
with small businesses and other people like that.
And also in the top 1% of all insurance agents on LinkedIn.
Yes, thank you for that plug.
Yeah,
I
of course.
am, I guess there's a LinkedIn algorithm that determines, who is a valuable connection on LinkedIn, and I'm in the top 1% of all health
Killing
insurance
it.
professionals.
Absolutely. killing
Somehow,
it.
I don't know. I don't post on there very often, but they're like, "Hey, this
They
guy's
just
connected."
know.
You're like,
So-
They
I
just
think
know.
this is an
Yeah.
accident, but I'll take it.
So,
No, it's not an accident.
Yeah. So with
You're
within
right, it was a connection of connection.
That's right.
Yeah. But within health insurance, I am one of a billion people doing health insurance, right?
Right.
So what we're doing is very unique and it's very special. But generally speaking, I'm in a massively flooded market of health insurance
Of
options
course,
for
yeah, yeah.
people. Between giant health insurance companies and brokerages and the marketplace and Obamacare, like it's white noise everywhere, right?
Right.
So being able to build these relationships all of a sudden cuts through that. Because when somebody starts thinking about health insurance, which they typically don't, because health insurance is boring and sucks and is expensive in a lot of cases, people don't want to think about it. But when they do,
Right.
I hope they're thinking about me. And I hope that I've built a
Mm.
relationship with them.
Yeah.
So they don't say, hey, I have 1,000 options for health insurance. They say, hey, I know a really good guy who does health insurance.
Yeah, I like
Yeah.
that.
Right.
Oh man, that's a good way
That
of
is
putting
a
it.
good way
Instead
of
of just saying like, because people, that's the thing is like people aren't working with industries, they're not working with brands, they're not working with companies, they're working with people. And so it's really just like making that connection. It was just like when they think of her insurance, you want them to think of Cam. You want them to think of Cam, they think about insurance, of course. But that's the thing is like they really want to make sure that like you can create that connection in their mind that they can then remember and be like, insurance sucks. And I got to figure out all these different things. I mean, I'm sure that's a common statement
It
in your
is
industry.
from me as well. Insurance does
Fair
suck.
enough. Fair enough. But
Yeah,
like,
for the
it's-
record, insurance sucks. Yes.
but that's the thing is like you want them to have that association in their minds when they go and think about like, oh man, it sucks, but Cam can help me through it. Like it's easier working with Cam to figure out insurance.
Yeah.
So that's awesome. That's really, really cool.
Yeah, I think that's super cool. You just put a picture in your mind,
Yeah.
Like now every time I think of health insurance, I'm gonna think of Cam.
Thank
I'm gonna
you.
keep
Oh.
of you,
Oh, look at you.
Yeah.
So
And
and
And I'm building that into a brand, right? Like it starts with me, and I've got a team of agents who work with me,
Right.
and,
Right.
and health insurance advisors. And we'll see 5-10 years from now what the company looks like. I might have an entire call center of whatever. We don't
Sure,
we don't
yeah.
exactly know.
Yeah.
But ideally, it's not just something that's related to me personally, where people say that's a valuable connection. But hopefully, my entire brand is that way.
Right.
Yeah.
Where Nectar Benefits is a relationship that people want to have. as opposed to doing health insurance on their own or dealing with some random agent who's
Yeah,
cold
going on
calling them 100
Marketplace
times a
and-
day, that sort of stuff.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, because you do deal with those people still.
Mhm.
But it's really like, I mean, that's the thing is like we really do tend to go with the people that we've built a relationship with. And when we're deciding between one company over another, whatever it may be, like we really do want to work with the people that we like.
Mhm.
You know, we want to work with the people that we actually enjoy spending time with. And we're just like, you know, I don't want to like just like have this new person come in and be like, hey, have you considered this before? And I'm like, yeah, you're not the first insurance agent to talk to me about this. But at the same time, coming back and being able to say like, you know, I'm working with Cam. If I wanted to get insurance, I wanted to go through Cam because it's just easier because I know him and he knows me. And so he knows my situations. I know his situation. You know, I know that he does a good job. I've seen his track record. It's so much more of something that you can rely on a little bit more. But okay, so you have networked a ton. You're probably one of the most networkable insurance agents that I know. And you are just out there, just, you know, foot to the ground, going and just really trying to get yourself out there. You're trying to build this brand, of course.
Mhm.
But at the same time, you're really just trying to build out those relationships. You're trying to build out your network. For people that are new to this, for people that are in health insurance, they're helping small businesses, but they're in a call center or they're at an office and they're trying to figure out better ways to just get themselves out there, build their own brands. For people that are looking to wanting to even get into networking, what kind of tips or strategies would you give them as they're trying to figure that out for themselves, as somebody who's done it quite a bit yourself?
Yeah. It's a good question. So again, most of the information related to health insurance is very dry and very abstract and very boring. It's a lot of numbers and deductibles, and it's very crunchy and like, you know.
I think I just checked out for a minute.
Yeah.
as you were
Yeah,
talking.
right? Yeah.
I was like,
You're
and I'm
come back,
glazed
oh,
over.
come back to me,
insurance,
come back to me. That's not what sells insurance.
Yeah.
Right.
In most cases, especially for small business owners, they care about a couple things. Number one, am I saving money that I can put back into my business?
Right.
Number two, is this saving me time? Is this saving me effort? Is this saving me stress? Kind of along the lines of that, is this something that is going to make my life easier, my employees happier? So
Mhm.
what I'm really trying to say is you look for what they really care about, right?
Mm.
Health insurance solves a lot of those problems, especially the right health insurance, which we have, and especially when it's done the right way. But if you don't know what those things are, you're not solving that problem. You're not solving that pain.
If you don't know that you're a New York resident, no, just kidding.
Yeah. So just to be like, hey, like I have the best product because of all these numbers and statistics and figures. Great. They don't care. What they care about is we can help your business. We can help your life, and we can help you and the people around you be happier and more
Right.
confident and more comfortable. And guess what? We do have the best way to do that. We can save you a bunch of money. We can get you better, lower deductibles and better network and blah, 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 blah. But none of
Right.
that matters until we know what pain we're solving and how we can kind of fit into that equation.
Mm.
So if somebody's trying to get their start here, I would say build relationships, you know, try and figure out what they need and see if you're going to be a good fit for that. Don't just try and cram your insurance down their throat because
Mm.
you think you happen to be the best. Because guess what? Even if you are, if they don't like you, then there's no loyalty there anyways. Maybe you might get somebody to sign on for a year or for a couple months or whatever. But if somebody else with the exact same product comes by who's more likable and has a better relationship and is more valuable, they're going to leave. Like you
Right.
don't have any loyalty there, right?
Right.
So build a relationship first that matters and then do business together.
Mm.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
Because if you're not building that relationship, then what you're just selling them is product, like your
Yeah.
product. You're not selling them why, like the why behind like buying it from you, or
Mhm.
like you're not really selling yourself as
Well,
well.
I mean, you're really only selling.
Mhm.
That's
Yeah.
I think that's the biggest.
There's no
aspect of it.
relationship.
There's no
Correct.
relationship. There's nothing. There's nothing like actually foundational about that connection
Right.
that you've
And-
made.
And guess what? Somebody's coming behind you in a few months whose numbers are a little bit different on a spreadsheet that look better. And if you don't
Yeah.
have a relationship and the only thing you sold is numbers on a spreadsheet, well, guess what? Somebody else has some other numbers that might look better
Mm,
in a few
yeah.
months. You
Yeah.
haven't given them anything that's really valuable, right?
right.
But you build a relationship, and guess what? Maybe your pricing's higher or lower. That doesn't matter. By the time I'm working with businesses, in most cases, They aren't asking questions about pricing at all.
Right.
They just say, hey, what does your process look like? How do we do this? How do we get signed up?
yeah.
Right.
They're not saying, can you save me money? I do, but that's not what they're asking me.
Right. That's
They're
not
just
what
excited
their
to get
You're
focus
like,
things
is.
done.
hallelujah.
Yeah.
You're like, thank you. You're
They're like, you can
the
take this
best.
stress away from
Yeah.
me. You can take away the pain of my employees not being happy and satisfied with what I've offered them.
Mhm.
Great. I love that. It's, you do that. We trust you in your process. Take it from here.
Right.
That's the relationship I get to, not saying like, well, wait a second. Can I save 2% by doing this and this and that? Like those conversations typically aren't even happening by that
Right.
point.
Sure. Yeah, I mean, to be fair, there are some people that are like very numbers driven. Like they're very much like, I just want to save this dollar here and this dollar here,
Mhm.
and that's a great fit for some people. Like there's some agents that are very numbers driven. That's totally fine. But at the same time, I would say the majority, like you were saying, are very much more relationship driven. They're much more of like, it's not just the value they can provide through the numbers and the data and the statistics of what I can do to save you money and all these different things. It's more like, how can I provide you value as an insurance agent? Like, I want to make sure that I'm following up with you, checking in on you, seeing how things are going. I want to
Yeah.
make sure that what you're doing is in line with the policy and that you're staying safe, of course, like that. But I want to make sure that you know that I'm here as an asset to you as well.
Correct.
So if you have questions, you can come to me and you can ask me. Like it's much more than just like, hey, I'm just gonna buy an insurance policy from whoever and hope that it works out.
Yeah.
And so it's much more of like, hey, how does this person provide value as a whole? So like, I mean, you beyond even just the numbers, you have your network, you have the better numbers, and you have the better process for them to be able to go through, so that they can see value in not just one thing, but a whole slew of things that you can provide for them.
And the relationship that I try and build really is one where I'm more of a consultant and an educator
Right.
and an advisor than an insurance homie, right?
Right.
So-
that's what they are now.
They're always-
Congratulations, you got your insurance homie license.
So, and that is a relationship that I have with most of my clients is
Yeah.
they'll reach out to me and say like, hey, do you happen to know somebody who does this? Or, hey, I ran into this weird problem, or, hey, how would you do marketing for this and that sort of stuff? I'm
Right.
getting questions that have nothing to do with insurance at all,
Mm,
because people know that I'm connected and they know that I care about their business and I'm trying to go along with them on their journey
Right.
and be a part of that, and not just say like, hey, here's a transactional relationship where I sell you something and you give me money and then we walk away. Right.
Right.
mm.
It's just a very different approach.
Right. Well, yeah. Sorry, I'm just like digesting. And I think that everything you've said here has been very educational.
Yeah.
And it's been such a great for me to listen because, I'm continually building my network and I'm getting into the space more and continually and realizing that I should be following up more and all these other things that, I could do better at. And I think that I guess my last question for you is, at this time in your life, you're very well connected. You know your product, you own your company, you're in a great place. Like, what is some words of wisdom that you have for people that are coming up into that or aren't as well connected that want to get in that space? Like, what are some like words of wisdom that you have?
Yeah, good question. There's a lot of people in any sort of sales position in insurance or whatever, where there's a lot of pressure to try and grind very quickly and say, let's get through 1,000 cold calls and knock every door and all that.
Mhm.
And that's good. That's a good way to get a lot of experience very quickly. But it is kind of a short-term mentality.
Mm.
If every single day you wake up and you say, I have to make 300 cold calls today, otherwise I have zero business and nothing's getting done, that's very different from taking an approach where you're saying, I'm building these long-term relationships that are going to be paying off for years and years and years to come, right? So there's the short-term approach is like straight to the sales and focusing right immediately on that and only that. A longer-term approach is to say, I'm going to build relationships that are going to be valuable, not necessarily this second, but that will be valuable, that'll turn into more relationships and more opportunities and all that. So if you're in a position to take that kind of longer route, I think it is way more valuable in the long run. There is some pain associated with that of saying like, hey, I just spent all this time and this effort helping somebody else out, and I made $0 for it. And now I can't, use that money to pay bills and to
Mhm.
take care of employees and stuff like that. But in the long run, I think that's way, way, way more valuable. So
Right.
there's probably a perfect happy medium for each individual person somewhere between the two of doing like only 100% sales and cold calls and only relationships. Don't get extreme with anything. Don't be like, hey, Cam Jacobson said don't make any sales. Like I didn't say that. Don't put that on me.
Yeah.
But realizing that you're not just playing the short-term game every single day, but if you can put the time and the effort into really engaging with people and putting yourself out there and building these relationships, that's going to build these long-term opportunities that are going to massively outweigh the short-term thing that you would have to do every single day if you weren't building relationships along the way.
Ah, that's
Well
awesome.
said.
This is a quick last minute question from my end as well, because I just thought of this. You have a pitch card,
I do.
and we'll be sharing it in the description. So if you want to get to learn more about Cam and his business and just hear his pitch, definitely check
Or
that
if
out. Click
you
on
are
the link.
looking for health insurance.
Or if you're looking for health insurance.
Hey.
So,
Little
if you're a
small
small
if you know-
business
Or if you
that
know
has
somebody who I
pain,
can help.
Yeah.
Yep.
Of
Yeah.
course. How is it that you are utilizing your pitch card in the health insurance space? Like, how are you using it for other people that may be trying to figure out how they can use it more
Yeah.
being an insurance agent?
So I can think of 2, maybe 3 examples. By the time I get through the first 1 or 2, I might have forgotten the third.
That's
so let's
okay.
just pretend
That's
there's only
okay.
We need to
2.
write them down.
And if we get to 3,
we can
it'll call it a
we can write
bonus.
them down next to the map
Yeah.
of like Nevada and Utah and trying to figure out where
Yeah.
the people were.
Okay,
that
so
you're helping.
first thing is with my clients directly, I do get a lot of times where I'll get a text message from somebody saying, hey, my friend needs health insurance. Can I give him your number? And instead of me saying yes, what I say is, perfect, I'd love to help. Here's how we do it. And then I send my client my pitch card and say, hit the share button, do a 3-way text.
Mm.
Now they've got my video, they've got all my contact information, they've got my calendar invite.
I love
They
it.
know all about me. They can see that. It's a very, professional and clean and personal handoff where you're vouching for me, but you don't have to put any effort into it because I already wrote the paragraph about myself saying that I'm a good guy and not some charlatan, right?
Mhm.
So,
Those
all-
are the exact words.
yeah, no scammers, no spammers, right?
Yeah.
So,
This is my homie Cam.
Yeah.
This is
Insurance
my
homie.
This is my insurance homie Cam.
Yeah. So that's one way is utilizing that anytime that somebody wants to give me a referral, saying here's the best way to do it. It's easier for you, it's better for them, and it's better for me if we do it through Pitch 59.
Right.
I have them do a 3-way text. They introduce. When that has happened, my conversion rate is through the roof, basically.
Oh,
At that
awesome.
point, they've already vouched for me. They've seen
Right.
my video, all that. It works really, really well. So that's one. And then a second, along those lines, a second example is kind of what I was talking about before with kind of the white noise and the static.
Mhm.
There's a lot of business groups on Facebook where somebody will say like, hey, I'm looking for car insurance, or I'm looking for a barber, or I need someone to walk my dog. And then 1,000 people will say, I know this guy who does dog walking. I know this guy, blah, 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 right? And there's just like a mountain of people commenting and trying to like get people to go with their recommendation for insurance or whatever. Somebody in one of those groups says like, hey, I need health insurance. Here's my issue. Here's my specific goals, whatever. And I happened to see that post. I didn't reply to it because by the time I saw it, there were like 50 or 60 comments of people being like, talk to this guy, talk to this guy, talk to this guy.
A lot.
And I was like, I'm not, yeah.
You're like,
Yeah. For the person who posted it, it's like, like, how do you even deal with that? Right.
Right.
yeah.
And then I got a 3-way text message. Somebody who was introducing me to that person with my Pitch 59 card.
No way.
Yeah.
I love
And they
that.
said, hey, you should get in touch with Cam. He does health insurance. I saw you posted this thing. Here's his video. I'll let you guys take it from here.
So
No.
you didn't even post.
I didn't respond to that thing on Facebook at all.
Yeah.
But now I've got an appointment with that person. We've
Wow.
already talked about their health
That's
insurance.
awesome.
They do have a unique situation. We're probably going to be able to help them out. And by the time this airs, probably they'll have amazing health insurance, whatever.
Yes.
But the point is, I was one of maybe 40 or 50 different options that they had.
Mhm.
But because we had this really good introduction that was very clean and personal, we cut through all of the crazy noise and all the people who are competing with me and all that sort of stuff. And now I've built quickly a relationship with the person. I can help them out and avoid
Yes.
trying to compete with the rat race of everybody who's trying to
Right.
say, oh, I can do it for $1 cheaper and I can do this and this and this and that,
You're like, but I beat that person.
Yeah. So somebody who they trust said, hey, you can trust Cam.
Awesome.
And now all of a sudden we're doing business and she gets to avoid all that nonsense. And so do
Right.
I.
Just
and that's the kind of
just
thing.
chaos.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And if I didn't have a relationship with that
Love
person,
that.
and if I didn't have a
We
Pitch
love
59
That's what we
card,
love.
then I wouldn't have that opportunity at all.
Yeah.
And that happened like 2 days ago.
Oh, wow.
So it's brand new, fresh right now.
Yes.
It's fresh.
Very real.
It's fresh.
Story
authentic.
I've never heard.
Did you remember the third one?
No,
It's
it's
okay.
gone.
But it's okay. No,
Yeah.
those are great examples. I think that's the biggest thing is just like for you, what I've recognized is that you're really trying to build a brand. You're trying to, make sure that people, right, when they think about insurance, they think about Cam. At the same time, you want to make sure that everybody that you know and that knows you can make those introductions really quick and easy, of course. But you just want to make sure that your brand is upheld through that. Like you want to make sure that what you're doing is of value to them, and then they'll see that value as you provide it. So good on you, man. That is awesome. So yeah, definitely check out that link in the bio, or the description. I don't know. That's always like the
Wherever it
go-to
ends
thing.
up,
We're like,
yeah.
yeah,
Bio.
link in my Instagram bio.
Yeah.
But check out the link in the description. Check out Cam. Get to know him.
Yeah.
We'll do a 3-way introduction for you.
Thank you.
For people that just want to get going and just want a consultant, right?
Yeah.
They want a homie. That's what it is.
I'll be your homie. Let's
yeah,
do it.
Yeah, we're good.
And
Yeah, Cam is a homie.
Kim, thank you so much for joining us on the podcast too.
Yeah.
It's been so fun to sit down and get to know you better. I know me and Nick know you through different networking activities that we've been to, but it's
Yeah, 'cause
nice to
you're
sit
everywhere.
here. You are. It's nice to sit here and to like kind of dive into your business a little bit more and your personal brand and
Definitely.
hear from you all those stories. So that was really powerful. Thank you for coming.
Yeah. Well, I really appreciate the opportunity. You guys are doing great stuff. And I send as many people I can your way. So
Oh yeah.
You say, hey, we need you to come on the podcast. And I'll say, yep. So maybe 6
You would
months from
never
now-
have guessed it, but this is Cam's first podcast. So I mean, that's the power. He's just good with words, and he's just a good guy.
Maybe 6 months from now I'll come back and I'll remember that third story for you, or maybe we'll have
We'll
100 new
see,
stories
yeah.
by that point.
Oh, yeah, there you
Perfect.
go.
Probably.
Yeah.
We better
Well-
have hundreds of new stories by that point.
Yeah. Well, thank you for joining us for the Referral Lounge. Thanks again to Cam, and we'll see you next time.
Thank you.